Good evening and welcome to the Environmental Justice Public Information Session regarding the application for renewal of a Title V permit for Lamart Corporation in Clifton, New Jersey. Tonight's agenda starts with an introduction, meeting guidelines, an overview of who Lamart is and what we do, the air permitting process, the environmental justice public engagement process, and then the public comment period to follow. Tonight's presenters are Dean DeGhetto, that's me, the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility for Lamart Corporation in Clifton. We are the applicant, and my colleague, Bridget Ansack, who is a principal with Arcadis US, and Bridget is the project consultant. With that, I'll turn it over to Bridget.
Just to give a few meeting guidelines before we start. All participants are muted until the end of the presentation. At that point, it will be open up for questions, and all questions can be presented at that time. This meeting is also being recorded and it will be shared with the NJDEP. If you do have a question, we ask that you state your name, address, and affiliation, if any, for the record before stating your question or comment. Each question and comment will be limited to 3 minutes to allow adequate time for everybody to make their questions so that there's time for everyone. There will be no screen sharing by any commenters during the call. Only spoken comments will be allowed. And we will not be responding to any questions or comments during this call. All comment or all responses to questions and comments will be responded to in writing after the meeting is over and posted on the DEP's website.
Lamart Corporation has been in business in Clifton, New Jersey since 1956. The company is still owned by the Hirsch family. Walter Hirsch was the founder of the company in 1956, and the company is currently run by his grandsons, Craig and Jonathan Hirsch. Lamart has been located at its current address, 16 Richmond Street in Clifton, since 1960. We employ a very diverse workforce of approximately 130 people. Most of Lamart's employees live within a 5-mile radius of the Clifton facility. Many live right in Clifton or in the city of Paterson. The next slide shows a map of our site. You can see that we're in a mixed use industrial, residential, and commercial area. A little bit of background about Lamart Corporation. We make products that are sold into a wide range of markets, including aerospace, automotive, building and construction, medical, recreation, and high technology. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we manufactured 12 million medical isolation gowns that were in short supply but high demand at that time. We helped to support the nationwide pandemic response effort, and most of the gowns were sold to area hospitals in neighboring states, and many were donated to local emergency response agencies like the Clifton Fire Department. Lamart has been a good neighbor and corporate citizen in Clifton since its inception. We're actively involved with the local police, fire, emergency responders, and the Clifton Health Department. Our operations involve the application of proprietary coatings to a variety of different substrates. Those substrates include paper, film, foil, and fabrics. Following the application of the coating, the coated substrates are cut to the customer's specifications and they are packaged for shipment. Over the last 10 years, we've made a number of site improvements, including the conversion of a former warehouse to a new production building, the installation of a new research and development laboratory, the construction of a flammable chemical storage room, and the renovation of a large production building. The large production improvement included the installation of a brand new coating line or manufacturing line and several new converting lines. During this past year, we've remodeled our corporate offices in the Clifton location. Our best management practices include the utilization of state-of-the-art air pollution control devices known as regenerative thermal oxidizers used for air emission controls. We implement good housekeeping and best management practices for the control of stormwater runoff and for the storage and disposal of hazardous waste. We have a very comprehensive non-hazardous waste recycling program. The Clifton plant is inspected on a regular basis by representatives of the city, the state, and our insurance carrier. And we have had a stellar environmental health and safety compliance record. Recent fire, hazardous waste, and stormwater compliance inspections resulted in no major findings. In terms of community participation, one of our employees is an active member of Clifton's Hazardous Materials Control Board and its Steps to a Healthier Clifton Coalition. Over the years, we've hosted a number of training events for the Clifton Fire Department. Most recently, we held a full-scale multi-agency hazardous materials emergency response drill. That was in November of 2022. One of our owners, Jonathan Hirsch, is a volunteer emergency medical technician, and he's been practicing as a volunteer technician for the last 29 years. We are also an annual sponsor of the Clifton High School Career Exploration Day, which is run by the Clifton Boys and Girls Club. Typically, we host students who are interested in careers in science and engineering.
We're holding this meeting tonight because Lamart Corporation is in the process of renewing their Title V permit for the Clifton, New Jersey facility. And in accordance with the Environmental Justice Law and Administrative Order 21-25, Lamart is holding this public information session. And the purpose of the session is to provide information regarding the facility, the air permit renewal application, and to engage with the community regarding the renewal process and to provide responses to any questions that are raised during this public information session regarding the pending permit. Notice of this session was provided in the local newspaper at least 30 days prior to tonight's meeting. There was also a posting on the DEP's environmental justice calendar. A copy of the air permit application is available at the Clifton Public Library, and a copy of the permit application is also available on the DEP's website. The materials for this session were prepared by Lamart and its environmental professionals and were reviewed by the DEP. The comment period will end 30 days from today, which would be July 15th. An introduction to the Title V permit. The Title V is a federal air program designed to standardize air quality permits and the permitting processes for major sources of emissions across the country. Major facilities are defined as ones that have actual or potential air emissions above a threshold for certain pollutants. What is required? Major facilities are required to submit a detailed application and to obtain a permit, a Title V permit. And this permit must be renewed every 5 years. And New Jersey recently enacted the environmental justice requirements, which mandate that anybody seeking a renewal of their Title V permit must conduct a session to allow for public engagement. As stated, the Clifton, New Jersey operations are classified as a major facility by the NJDEP and the US EPA. The facility has the potential to emit the following pollutants: volatile organic compounds, also known as VOCs, nitrogen oxides, NOx, carbon monoxide, CO, total suspended particulate, PSP, particulate matter less than 10 micron, also known as PM10, sulfur dioxide, known as SO2, and hazardous air pollutants, also known as HAPs. The operations in Clifton have operated under a Title V major source permit since 2000. The permit primarily pertains to 4 production coating lines. 3 of the coating lines are located in the Richmond Street building, and the emissions are controlled by a regenerative thermal oxidizer. And then there is 1 additional coating line located across the street in the Circle Avenue building, and those emissions are controlled by a separate RTO. In addition to the coating lines, there are ancillary equipment, including a lab coater, UV coaters, mixers, a degreaser, and space heating. On this slide, we show what the actual emissions were from Lamart during 2022, as opposed to what they are as they are listed in their permit. As you can see, the emissions are approximately or less than 10% of what their permitted emission limits or permitted emissions can be. Over 90% of the emissions of the VOC emissions at the facility are from the use of solvent-based coatings by the 4 production coating lines at the facility. And then based upon the results of the 2022 stack test, approximately 99% of the emissions from the coating lines are controlled by the 2 RTOs at the site. The remaining VOC emissions from the facility are emitted by the ancillary equipment, such as the mixers. And then the remaining emissions, such as particulate emissions and the products of combustion, are due to the RTOs, the drying ovens, and the space heaters. The Title V permit must be renewed every 5 years, and this application was submitted on September 8th, 2022, and was deemed administratively complete on November 15th, 2022. As part of the renewal, no changes are being made to the permit. There are no additional or no increased environmental impacts that will occur as part of this permit renewal. Lamart strives to comply with permit emission requirements and reduce any potential environmental impacts. Lamart employs state-of-the-art air pollution control systems, and it has a strong regulatory compliance history. This public information session is providing information regarding Lamart's application to renew the Title V permit. We will receive questions and comments raised at the information session and respond to those questions and comments in writing following the close of the public comment period. We will collect any written comments to the Lamart air permit renewal application received via email and mail, and we will work with the DEP to respond and post responses on the NJDEP's website. The NJDEP will then move forward with their review of Lamart's air permit renewal application. And once that renewal is complete, the new permit will be issued.
In addition to our air permit, Lamart also has a general permit for stormwater runoff. This requires an annual certification to the DEP. There have been no issues of non-compliance regarding stormwater runoff. In addition, we are a large quantity generator of hazardous waste. We submit a biennial report to the DEP, last submitted in February of 2022. And again, with regard to hazardous waste compliance, there have been no issues of non-compliance. In terms of environmental stewardship, Lamart has received 2 green building awards from the County of Passaic. One was for the development of a proprietary solar film, the second for a lighting project in a new building. In 2015, the company received the DEP's Environmental Stewardship Award for its voluntary and proactive measures, go beyond compliance in an effort to ensure a sustainable future. Our major industry association is called the Pressure Sensitive Tape Council. Lamart received certification under the council's responsible tape manufacturing program. And we provide regular health and safety training for our employees in many areas, including but not limited to first aid and CPR, proper use of a fire extinguisher, and chemical right to know.
This concludes our presentation, and we will now open it up to any questions that you may have about Lamart's pending Title V permit application. You can either use the box to ask your question, or you can raise your virtual hand. Once the questions are received, a written response will be provided in coordination with the NJDEP. Any written questions or comments can be emailed to publicnotice@lamartcorp.com. And that email address will be available for the next 30 days. Lamart appreciates your attendance and your participation in this meeting. Thank you.
David, your comment?
Hi, yes, this is Dave DeGhetto, 50 Lindale Court, Clifton, New Jersey. I'm also a member of the Environmental Commission in the city of Clifton, and I'm a licensed site remediation professional under the state of New Jersey. I guess, very good job on the presentation. I'm not just saying that because the presenter is my father, but, just two questions regarding the permitting process. I know this was centered around the air permit. Do the stormwater and hazardous waste large quantity generator renewals also trigger the environmental justice requirements?
David will respond to that question in writing.
Okay. And then what is the frequency of the Title V renewal?
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years, okay. All right, yeah, well, very good job. Thank you for hosting this meeting.
Thank you.
Hi, Megan. It looks like you have a question. Please go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a question.
No,
Thank you. I
You're
accidentally hit something.
you're welcome.